Hey there, thanks for stopping by my channel to color. Today we're going to be doing some watercoloring. I shopped on Pinterest and I found this cute little image over on stressycat.com and I decided that's what we're going to do. I'll put a link to everything I used down in the description box in case you'd like to pick something up. I went ahead and I cut out a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 inch 140-pound Arches watercolor paper. I scored it in the middle so I'll be able to fold it in half later, and I'm just using some painter's tape to mask off some outside edges there. This is a picture of the image that I found over on Pinterest, and I will put a link to her website down in the description box in case you'd like to try it out. Hers looks super cute, and mine is definitely not going to turn out that super cute. I'm going to need a little bit more practice to make it look this wonderful, but I would love for my watercoloring to someday look like that. So I went ahead and I drew the image on, sort of, and then I'm going over it with my eraser and just erasing all the lines so I can just barely see it, so that when I go over the lines with my watercoloring, they won't be there anymore because they're barely visible. And once you paint over the top of your watercoloring, you will not be able to erase them, so always make sure to erase the lines before you get started painting. I'm using some Gansi Tambi watercolors, and there is all the colors there on the side that I'm going to be using in my painting today. So in case you'd like to try this out yourself, you can use the same exact colors or pick some different colors. I'm thinking I'm going to do it over and maybe do a few different colors, because I definitely like how her watercolor painting looked really loose and free-flowing, and it just looks really cool. So I'm definitely going to try to do this more than one time and give it another go to see how I can progress. So I'm just going along and I'm doing a first coat of my paints first. And I didn't wait for his eye to dry there, so I managed to get some purple in there. So what I did is I just went ahead and used my paper towel to dab up some color so that it wouldn't have any purple in his eye. I'm doing the background there. I just swiped some water across there, and then I'm doing some, I let it bleed out after the light color. I put some darker color on it and let it bleed out. Here I'm going ahead and I'm adding some purple up here for my hat. And I left a space. I found that that works pretty good too, is if you leave a space in between all of your painting so that it doesn't run together. I'm not always successful at that, but I'm going to try to do that a little bit better from now on, is to leave a little bit of a white area in between each little space. And I think maybe if I switch to a little bit smaller brush, this is a number 4, so it's not huge, but since I'm not that good at watercoloring yet in the details, I think if I used a little bit smaller detail brush, it maybe would work a little bit better. Now I decided I was going to go ahead and add some more blue to my blue down here. I decided it wasn't dark enough. So it's still a little bit wet. So I went in and I added some darker blue at the bottom, and then I got it wet all the way to the top. So it's just going to filter itself up onto that area up there above that. And then my little bird's going to need something to stand on. So I'm getting my paper wet, and now I'm adding some black. I put a little bit of black in my palette over there, and then I added a bunch of water to it to dilute it so it wouldn't be quite so strong. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start our little bird down here, his body. So I'm getting it wet with some water, and then I'm going to go ahead and drop some green in there and just let it float down by itself. I'm not very patient with this floating thing, so I definitely need to practice that a little bit more. Patience is a virtue. Then I went ahead and I wandered off and I let it dry, and I came back and I'm going to add a second coat and kind of fix up a few little things. So I grabbed some green straight out of the container so that I could darken up towards the top where his eyes and his beak are. And then I got it wet down at the bottom, and I'm just kind of letting it run down on its own. Then we're going to go ahead and darken up our hat. So I'm adding another layer of my purple, and I'm getting a little bit closer with all my lines so that they're not white and just standing out there. Even though I'm kind of liking that whole look with the white around the outside, I might try that later. And then I forgot to do the little space between his eyes, so I'm adding a little bit of green in there. We're going to darken up our shadow down here where our bird's going to stand. So I'm just adding some more black over the top of it. And there I got some black straight out the little container so that we can just let that darken up. Then I'm going to add some more purple to our hat. It's all about waiting. You kind of jump around and do different areas while it's after it dries. It works out best, but I get impatient, so I never wait for it to finish. I guess I got to be a little bit more patient. Or I've got to plug in my heat tool so that I can dry it in between of my paintings. So there I added a bunch of purple. I'm going to go in and darken up and fix my line down there on my green. And then we'll add a little bit more green between his eyes, so it's not very dark up there. And then we're going to go ahead and grab some more green. I decided it still wasn't green enough, so we're going to darken up underneath of his beak. And again, I'm just letting it kind of filter down or drag down towards the bottom on its own. And I got a little crazy with my paint there, so I'm just dabbing some up with my paper towel so that it will be whiter at the bottom. And then, of course, I ended up getting a little bit of that green in my blue, so now my blue paint is a completely different color than it started with. I wandered off, I let it dry. I came back in and we're adding some orange onto his beak. And you definitely want to make sure that that is all dried before you come in and do that. Otherwise, you're going to have orange and green all mixed together and make a big mess. So patience is a virtue. Make sure to stop and let it dry. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to add a little bit of shadows on his eyeball so it looks like he's got eyes up there and they're not just flat, big circles. And I'm trying to add the darker color at the top, and then I'm coming down, I wipe my brush off and rinse it off, and then I bring that color down towards the bottom. And look there, I touched my orange beak, so I managed to get orange out in front of my eye, so I'm just dabbing it up so it's not going to be orange on there. Grabbing a little bit more black, putting it up at the top of his eye, and then I'm coming back with my clean brush and swiping some water around on it and dragging it just a little bit and softening it. Nothing too technical, but it's working its way around, making them look like they have an eyeball there. It's a lot of fiddling, if you want my opinion. You just got to do a lot of fiddling, and I'm one of these people who like it to be perfect right off, and it never is, so I'm going to definitely need to practice some more. Here we're going to go in and add another coat of my really dark purple so that we add some more shadows on there. More green to darken up my little bird. Some more orange to darken that up. Then I'm trying to fix this blob down here. I wanted to be the background. It doesn't look as seamless, so I'm wiping over it and going clear to the bottom. Then I add some dark at the bottom and kind of work my way back up so that it will be more of an ombre effect. I think that would look really cool, but I'm definitely going to have to practice that a little bit more. I'm darkening up my shadow. I know that a lot of the times when it dries, it's a lot lighter. See there, I managed to dry it, and then when I come back, it was just way lighter. He's going to need some eyeballs, so I'm just using some black paint and doing some circles. And who knew circles could be so difficult when you're painting them on? But that you don't want to get them out. You got to be really careful with that paintbrush, otherwise you're just going to have a big, huge mess. Now I decided I was going to add some splatter, so I just dipped my brush into my diluted paint that was in my tray. I'm kind of holding my hand over the top of my bird so that I won't get any paint on him. I'm trying to avoid that area. You could lay a piece of paper on there or do a paper towel or whatever. I just use my hand as the detour for my paint. And then of course I've got it all over the back of my hand, so I had to wipe it all off. Then I'm taking my heat tool, and I've actually got it plugged in now, and I've decided I would dry that. So I'm kind of drying it. While it's drying, I am picking up all of my stuff and moving it over to the side. And now I'm going to go ahead and, oh, look how cute he looks. So now we're going to use our micron pen, and this is a micron number 8 that I'm going to use to outline my bird. So I'm just drawing some lines on there so he doesn't look quite so crazy. We're doing a hat, and I didn't really pay attention if I stayed right on the line. I'm just kind of drawing it in there and then making the little squiggles and little bumpy things on there. I thought that'd be perfect. We're going to give him a couple of little legs and some feet. And then we're going to come in and we're going to use our white gel pen or white Sharpie paint pen to add some white highlights onto our little bird. Now the fun part, we're going to remove all of the tape. That's always the funnest part. Even though I didn't do the background, I still think it was really fun to do that part. I'm going to use the CC Designs Bubble Words Sentiment Set to add the little hello there onto my card, because it's a one-layer card, so I'm just going to stamp it straight on there. I'm using some VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp it with, and my Tim Holtz stamp positioner so I get it right every single time. I did stamp it 3 times so that it would go through all that watercolor paper and make it pretty crisp. Then I'm just using my bone folder to score it here at the end so that it is all flat. So there is our finished watercolored bird. Isn't he cute? For more close-up photos and details, head over to the store blog. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the little bell next to it. And right about now, you should be seeing a couple of more videos I thought you might be interested in seeing. If you're interested in either of those, make sure to click on one and it'll take you directly to the video. Otherwise, I hope you are having a fabulous day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.